Have you ever wondered how to truly work out what is valuable for your Agile release train or your Agile program? In this video, we're going to look at how Amazon does it. We're going to look at how to fail joyfully. And we're going to look at how we can apply that to our example of Justice Inc. for our PI Planning for Beginners series. Hey friends, I'm Ahmed, a scale agile and productivity coach based in the UK. On this channel, we cover productivity, agility, and yes, even joy. So this is the fourth video in the PI Planning for Beginners series. And in this series, I'll walk you through step by step exactly all the things that I do to run hopefully an amazing PI planning event, something that people are excited to come to and they are engaged, and also we use best practices throughout. But if you're coming from a previous video, which I hope you are, because this video will build upon previous videos, and if you've not seen the previous videos, please click on the link above over here. You'll know that I promised you a roadmap video, and you end up over here and you're going, what's going on? This is not a roadmap video. We're talking about value over here. So what's going on? It's a pretty dumb story, but I'm going to tell you anyway, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I woke up with this idea and I said about 1 o'clock in the morning, I said, you know what? I'm going to do a PI Planning for Beginners video series and it's going to be awesome. So I sat there in my bed writing out. At 1 a.m. in the morning, I wrote out all of my list of videos. I know what you're thinking. I must be a joy to live with. Well, you can ask my wife, a real treat. After I've written all of these things out, after the first few videos, I said, okay, we're going to do the roadmap here. But as I started to look at that again, and I was like, oh, this is a problem because there are a bunch of different stages I want to take you through before we jump onto the roadmap, right? Because we want to make sure that we're really building on solid foundation. So let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, so in the previous videos, we covered vision and goals, right? And then after that, and that was basically our epics as well. But then after that, we need to say, okay, what is really valuable for this organization? So once we've determined that, once we've determined what's really valuable, we can then take that information, we can then split up our epic, our large goal into something smaller requirements, and then from there we can build our roadmap. And I was like, oh my God, Ahmed, you've made a complete mess of this and you've went around and you've told everybody that roadmap is the next thing. So I said, I know, I've got a great idea. What I'm going to do is I will shove it all into one video and I don't have to own up to anything. And then that I've made a big mistake. I can keep up this pretense of being right and I can protect my ego. And I thought, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, no, genius, it's going to make it too long. There are multiple concepts in there, making it really complicated. So you're going to come clean and you're going to practice what you've learned. You see, I've come across this concept from a great book called Feeling Great by David Byrne. And what he talks about in this book is this concept of failing joyfully. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this idea and this concept and I'm going to use it for an agile world, for a PI planning world, for a scaled agile world. And so if you look at the concept that David Byrne talked about is that when we're toddlers and we're learning how to walk, there is no diminishment in the excitement once we fall over. We fall over, we get up again. We fall over, we get up again. As a result of that, what happens? We learn to walk relatively quickly. We know instinctively how to fail joyfully. Now, something happens due to our parenting or our schooling or society or all of the above, who knows? Which means that after time, we start to become hesitant and reluctant and scared to fail and scared, even terrified to own up to having failed as well. So what I did is I thought, okay, let's try and see how we can adapt this to an agile world. So I came up with something called 3 L's. Okay, so let's bear with me a second whilst I walk you through that. So the first one is you need to laugh about it. So I made a bit of a hash with this roadmap thing. So, hopefully I had a bit of a laugh about it. That's okay, and relax. It's okay if we made a mistake. Nobody's died, everything's okay, right? The next one, the next L, is learn. So we learn from our mistakes. So now going forward, I'm going to make sure that I do things a little bit more iteratively. I have a think about before I announce the next video, hopefully. I'm not saying I'm not going to make mistakes again, but hopefully I will have learned something from there as well. And then the third L is launch. So you relaunch your next attempt, and then basically in this way, what you want to do is you have this tight learning cycle. Now, if we think about Agile for a second, one of the things that I found, I still found it even till as recently as last year, the many organizations and many cultures and many individuals that really struggle with the idea of learning and changing and growing and adapting, right? And so this, the idea of just showing people what a retrospective is, or what a sprint is, or what a roadmap or backlog is, it's not always enough. Because if they're reluctant to change and to grow and to learn, you're going to have that internal friction and that internal resistance. It's a bit like me teaching somebody how to ride a cycle and explain to them that if you ride a cycle every day, you will become healthy, and this is what's likely to happen in terms of your physiology. And then I come back after a week or a month and I'm shocked to see that they're not riding the cycle. Well, there could be some inner friction over there. So it's not enough to just give the tools. We also have to support the individuals to be able to fail joyfully. Okay, so that's what I decided to do. So what I've decided to do now is, this is our value video. We're going to have a next video which is epic and feature. And the next video after that would probably be roadmap and prioritization, or prioritization and roadmap. Okay, so that's the story of how we got over here. So what is business value then? And let's have a look at it. So I've been searching around for the different definitions around the web for this term, and I didn't really come across anything that I really liked. So the closest one that I came to is from PMI.org, and it says, business value is a net benefit that will be realized by the customer of a project and can be measured in either monetary or non-monetary terms. I didn't feel that hit the mark for what we're looking for. So I came up with my own definition over here. So I'm saying business value refers to the intangible or intangible benefits that will be realized by the customers, users, or stakeholders of a project. So there are two main types of benefits. One is the tangible benefits of business value that can be directly measured, and they're frequently measurable in financial terms. And the other type is intangible. Now, these are benefits that we can't directly measure, and can be a little bit trickier in terms of us determining whether we've actually hit the mark or not. So we're going to look and see how we can do that now. But first, let's have a look at a couple of examples. Okay. So under the tangible banner, we've got revenue, market share, cost savings, ROI, return on investment, customer retention, loyalty, customer lifetime value, cross-selling ratios. And then under intangibles, we've got things like a brand recognition, customer happiness, improved user experience, etc., etc. So we've got a bunch of different examples over here. Now, as you can see, measuring the tangible ones will obviously be a lot easier because there's the revenue base and other things, but the intangibles can be a little bit trickier. So let's have a look and see how we can measure some of the intangibles. So what I frequently find very exciting to do is to look at different industries and see how they do things, and see, can we learn something from them, and can we apply that in the way we work, right? So if we look at the healthcare industry, they've got something called as the Wong-Baker Pain Rating Scale, right? Which you'll see on the screen over here. And the beauty of this model is that it takes something as intangible as pain, and it makes it simple to quantify your pain threshold, okay? And it's so simple, even a child can understand how to rate themselves. And that is what, in my mind, makes it really beautiful as well. You could argue that the star rating system, like in Amazon, is something similar to that, but it's a little less well defined. So that's the challenge over there. But the problem is that, first of all, when we come to things like star ratings, or even when we come to something like the Wong-Baker Scale, these can be gamed quite easily, right? So let's have a look and see how Amazon looks at its marketplace vendors and how does it evaluate their performance in terms of making sure that they're fulfilling the customer needs and customer satisfaction. So one of the things you'll notice is that Amazon, even though it's got a wide array of vendors, it still manages to maintain a very high degree of customer satisfaction and customer happiness as well. So rather than measuring their vendors on something vague like customer satisfaction and a star rating, what it does is something far more clever. What it does is it takes this intangible value or idea and it moves it into tangible metrics. So let's have a look at the 5 metrics that Amazon uses to rate its vendors. So the first metric it uses is the order defect rate. So how many defects does our order actually have? How many times are customers canceling their order? How many times is it late? How many times are you violating the policy? And how long does it take you to respond to your customers? So all of these, as you can see, are very tangible. They're not debatable. You can quantify them numerically. And from that, they establish that these are the things that are most important to our customers. Okay, so that's very interesting. So let's have a look and see how we can take all of this information that we've just covered and how we can apply that to our example. So to recap, we've got Justice Inc.'s vision to be Earth's most reliable store of legal information, the first place where legal professionals around the globe go to obtain the latest legal information on any topic. Then we've got our epic and our goal, which is around the awesome Aussie case law system. And also what we have is we have a benefit outcome hypothesis as well. Now, let's take what we just learned and let's apply this to this example. So to make things interesting, let's assume we have got 2 key objectives, and the first one is tangible and the second is intangible. So the first one, let's say we want to grow our market share. Okay, now that's very tangible and very measurable. You can see where you are in the Australian market for, say, either family, criminal or corporate law, and how far you have permeated and penetrated that market. But customer happiness now is an intangible, so that's a little bit trickier. So let's have a look and see how we look at both of those. So market share, as I said, has got a direct, measurable, something that we can measure it directly. But let's look at the KPIs or the leading indicators that lead up to the market share as well to tell us that we're on the right track. So we can have a look at the increase in the new target customers, the number of new customers that are coming online. That will tell us that we're increasing our market share. We can look at number of searches. We can look at the reduced sale of our paper-bound case law manuals. Okay, so each of these on their own are not guarantees of that, but they're good indicators that we're moving in the right direction. Now, let's look at the customer happiness, the intangible one, because that's a bit more interesting. So how do we take something as intangible as customer satisfaction or customer happiness and make it tangible? So we're going to use the Amazon example and we're going to apply that into our world as well. So let's just say, for example, our customers want to make sure that they have got relevant information up to date and that they can rely on it. Okay, now that's probably a fairly safe bet to say that lawyers would want that, even me not being a legal professional. So how to achieve those things? So the first thing maybe we could say is, When a customer does a search, the target that they are looking for is within the first 3 search items. So it's what we can call information relevance. Okay, it's really relevant information. The second one is that as soon as the information becomes available in the courts, and the next day it's updated and is uploaded to our system. So that's information currency, right? So it's up-to-date information all there. And then the third one could be like, for example, customer defect reporting, right? So if there's data that is out of date or information that is incorrect, then that is also to do with information integrity, right? So we can assume in our case that maybe if we can get these 3 indicators right, we're going to have happy customers. Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to tweak these. We can add things, we can remove them depending upon our hypothesis and our learning and our testing of the market. But let's start off with these as a starting point. Okay, so now we've also got some additional information that is actually very material that is going to be useful when it comes to the next video when we split our epics up into features. And that is basically what we're finding is that you know what it's like, right? Once the customers sign up to a service, they're very reluctant to switch, right? I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to change my office suite, right? Because I'm so used to it now. If somebody else comes up to me, I'm going to forget about it. We're all change resistant, whether we like it or not, whether we're agile or not, right? We all want to minimize the amount of complexity in our world. And we do that subconsciously or consciously through de-amplifying or reducing the amount of change that's there in our life as well. So the market is very reluctant to switch. So time to market is key and critical that we get as many new people onto our service as possible. And then the other challenge that we have is that there's a major risk to retrieving the data from the courts on time. So we've got a challenge with the information currency as well. Okay, so there you have it. We looked at a number of things in this video. We looked at how to fail joyfully. We looked at the 3 L's that help to support us failing joyfully. We've taken note of that. So hopefully next time we start to feel frustrated, we can catch ourselves and say, no, I need to fail joyfully. We looked at how I made a bit of a hash of things. We need to be open and honest when we make the failures. We looked at value over here, and we also looked at basically how we can take intangible business value and intangible and how we can make that tangible. We looked at how we can use leading indicators, and we're going to look at how we're going to take all of this information and we're going to use that for splitting out our epics into features, smaller requirements if you like, in the next video. So lots of exciting stuff still remaining, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Till then, love learning, keep growing, and most importantly, don't forget to bring the joy. See you next video. Bye.